You stare at the ceiling at 3 a.m., replaying the loss, trying to logic your way out of the heartbreak. You make lists, you analyze the facts, you try to think your way into feeling better, but the chest pain just sits there, heavy and immovable. It's in these moments of intellectual defeat that Seneca whispers a hard truth to us. Only time can heal what reason cannot. The mind is a sharp tool, sure, but grief is blunt. It's a fog that logic can't cut through, and sometimes trying to solve your sadness like a math problem only makes it hurt worse. You just have to sit in the ruins. You have to let the seasons change while you're standing still. It feels passive, doesn't it? It feels like giving up. But there is a wisdom in surrender, in acknowledging that the soul moves at a much slower pace than the intellect. Healing isn't a hack you can figure out. It's a biological process, a slow knitting together of a wound that you just have to endure until the clock does its work. But then, once the initial sting fades, we start looking for an easy life again, don't we? We pray for smooth sailing, we want everything to just work out without a struggle, and we wonder why we feel so fragile when things inevitably go wrong. Seneca challenges this desire for comfort, reminding us that a gem cannot be polished without friction, nor a man without trials. We spend so much energy trying to avoid the friction. We numb ourselves, we take the shortcut, we hide from the difficult conversations. But have you ever noticed that the people who have never struggled are usually the ones who break the easiest? You need the grind. You need the resistance. That friction isn't there to destroy you. It's there to reveal you. It rubs away the ego, the entitlement, the soft parts of your character that don't serve you anymore. It's painful, absolutely, but that heat and pressure are the only things capable of turning a dull stone into something that actually shines. And speaking of things that control us, think about how easily your mood flips based on what the world gives you. One moment you're high on a compliment or a pay raise, and the next you're crushed by a rejection, completely at the mercy of external things. Seneca saw this seesaw of emotion and warned us, the day a man becomes superior to pleasure, he will also be superior to pain. There are two sides of the same trap. If you are addicted to the praise, you will be destroyed by the criticism. If you chase the high, you are essentially signing a contract that says you will be terrified of the low. You're handing the remote control of your life to everyone else. Real strength isn't about enduring pain. It's about not being seduced by pleasure in the first place. It's stepping back and realizing that neither the good times nor the bad times define who you are. When you stop needing the world to make you feel good, the world loses its power to make you feel bad. But even if we master our emotions, there is one resource we are all recklessly throwing away every single day. We guard our bank accounts with passwords and anxiety, terrified of losing $1. Yet, Seneca looks at how we spend our days and points out the hypocrisy. You wouldn't walk down the street throwing cash out of your pockets, would you? You'd be called insane. But we sit and scroll for 3 hours, burning daylight, burning life, as if we have an infinite supply of it. We treat time like it's cheap because we can't see the account balance dropping. But the balance is dropping. Every second is a withdrawal you can never reverse, a coin tossed into a well that has no bottom. We need to stop being so stingy with our money and start being absolutely greedy with our time, because that is the only wealth we have that is guaranteed to run out. And when we aren't wasting time, we are usually poisoning it with grudges. Someone cuts you off, someone insults you, and the fire rises in your chest, demanding you get even, demanding you strike back. Before you lash out, Seneca asks you to consider the nature of the offender. The initial hurt lasts a moment, but the anger? You carry that around for days, weeks, years. It rots you from the inside out. You think you are punishing them, but you are only punishing yourself. drinking poison and hoping the other person dies. So look at them differently. If a dog barks, you don't bark back. If a mule kicks, you don't kick it. You understand it's just acting according to its nature. When people act like fools, let them be fools. Don't degrade yourself by biting back. Just keep walking. We walk through life thinking we know the way, but honestly, most of the time, we're just guessing. We rely on our own flawed instincts, drifting off course without even realizing we're lost. And Seneca realized that the biggest danger to our soul is trying to navigate this chaos alone. He wrote, "Choose someone whose way of life, as well as words, have won your approval. Be always pointing him out to yourself. There is a need for a standard against which we can measure ourselves. Without a ruler, you won't make crooked straight." We are so good at lying to ourselves. We rationalize our laziness, we excuse our anger, and without an external standard, that crookedness starts to look straight to us. You need a model, not an idol, but a ruler, someone whose very existence exposes your flaws and inspires you to fix them. And this isn't about imitation, it's about calibration. When you hold your actions up against the life of a great person, the discrepancies become obvious. You stop measuring yourself against the noise of the world and start measuring yourself against the silence of wisdom. But here's the thing. Even with a ruler, the work itself hurts. We live in an age that worships comfort, where we think that if something is painful, it must be wrong. Yet Seneca saw the struggle differently. He put it simply, difficulties strengthen the mind as labor does the body. Think about how you build muscle. You don't get strong by sitting on the couch, you get strong by tearing the muscle fibers, by pushing against resistance until you're shaking. Your mind works exactly the same way. Yet we beg for an easy life, not realizing we are begging for atrophy. Every setback, every heartbreak, every moment of confusion is just weight on the bar. You aren't being punished, you're being trained. The difficulty is the only thing ensuring that when the real heavy lifting of life arrives, you won't collapse under the pressure. So you accept the training, you accept the weight, but then you look up at where you want to go and it seems so impossibly high, so far away, and you just want a shortcut. Seneca, however, refuses to lie to us about the distance. He reminds us, there is no easy way from the earth to the stars. We want the view from the summit without the burn in our legs. We want the wisdom of the sage without the years of silence and study. But gravity is real. The pull of mediocrity is strong. And escaping that pull, launching yourself from the dirt to the stars, requires a tremendous amount of energy. If the path you're on feels smooth, if it feels downhill, you probably aren't heading toward the stars. You're heading back to the earth. The friction you feel, that's proof you're actually ascending. And while we are struggling on this steep path, we make a fatal error. We obsess over our bank accounts, terrified of losing $1, yet we leave the vault of our lives wide open. Seneca noticed this bizarre contradiction in human nature. He observed, people are frugal in guarding their personal property, but as soon as it comes to squandering time, they are most wasteful of the one thing in which they have a right to be stingy. If a stranger walked up and asked for your wallet, you'd fight them. But if a neighbor comes over and kills 3 hours of your day with idle gossip, or if a screen steals your attention for a whole evening, you don't even flinch. You just gave away a chunk of your life that you will never, ever get back. Money is renewable. Time is not. You have a limited allowance of heartbeats, and you are handing them out to people and things that don't matter. You have to start guarding your hours with the same ferocity that you guard your cash. So why do we do all this? Why find a mentor, endure the pain, climb the mountain, and guard our time? Because frankly, existence without purpose is a heavy, crushing thing. Seneca writes to his friend with a touch of desperation, trying to explain the only thing that makes the burden light. He says, "It is clear to you, I know, Lucilius, that no one can lead a happy life, or even one that is bearable, without the pursuit of wisdom, and that the perfection of wisdom is what makes the happy life, although even the beginning of wisdom makes life bearable." Life is full of suffering. There's no way around that. But wisdom, the pursuit of truth, of understanding, of virtue, is the medicine. And the most beautiful part of what he says is that you don't have to be perfect to feel the relief. You don't have to be a sage to find peace. Just starting the journey, just taking that first step toward wisdom, is enough to make the unbearable bearable. It's enough to turn the lights on in a dark room. You think wisdom is something that just arrives? We spend so much time waiting for that lightning bolt of clarity, hoping that one day we'll just wake up and understand how to navigate this mess of a life. But that's a lie we tell ourselves to justify our laziness. Because Seneca knew the hard truth: no man was ever wise by chance. You have to fight for it. Wisdom isn't a gift you unwrap. It's a muscle you tear and rebuild in the gym of existence. It comes from the deliberate choice to look at your mistakes, your pain, and your failures, and actually learn from them instead of just trying to forget them. You don't stumble into mastery. It requires a relentless, daily intentionality. While everyone else is sleepwalking through their routine, reacting to whatever screen is in front of them, you have to be the one observing, analyzing, and sharpening your mind. If you aren't cultivating your mind on purpose, you are letting it rot by accident. But there is something that rots our minds faster than anything else: fear of the future. We are absolute masters at torturing ourselves with scenarios that haven't happened yet. We look at the horizon and see storms that aren't there. Listen to how Seneca tries to shake us out of this paralysis. What I advise you to do is not to be unhappy before the crisis comes, since it may be that the dangers before which you paled as if they were threatening you will never come upon you. They certainly have not yet come. We are in the habit of exaggerating or imagining or anticipating sorrow. Stop bleeding before you've even been cut. We spend so much of our limited time suffering in our imagination, trembling at the thought of losing a job or a relationship or our health. You are ruining the only thing you actually possess, this present moment, for a ghost that might never show up. And even if the trouble does come, you will handle it then. But right now, you are borrowing pain. You are paying interest on a debt that the universe hasn't even sent you the bill for yet. Put it down. It's too heavy, and it's not real. So, if we put down the anxiety, what do we pick up? What actually lasts? We chase the external stuff, the promotion, the applause, the numbers in the bank account, thinking that's the safety net. But Seneca points us toward the only fortress that can't be stormed. A good character is the only guarantee of everlasting, carefree happiness. Think about how fragile everything else is. Your money can be lost in a market crash. Your reputation can be shattered by a rumor. Your body will age and fail you. If your happiness is tied to things you can lose, you are building your house on sand. You will always be terrified. But who you are, your integrity, the way you treat people when you have nothing to gain, that is yours. It is the only thing that you truly own. When the world is falling apart around you, a strong character is the calm eye of the storm. It's the only asset that doesn't depreciate. But to build that kind of character, you have to be willing to be an outsider. The world screams at you to fit in, to buy what they buy, to fear what they fear. It is terrifying to step out of line. But Seneca tells us we have to be indifferent to that pressure. The Stoic pays no attention to what others consider shameful or miserable. He does not walk with the crowd. The crowd is confused. The crowd is anxious. The crowd is often wrong. Following the herd doesn't lead you to safety. It usually just leads you off a cliff. To find peace, you have to be willing to look at what society calls success and be brave enough to say, I don't want that. Real freedom is the ability to be misunderstood and not care. It's walking a solitary path because you know it's the right one, even if you're the only one walking it. You have to trust your own internal compass more than the noise of the millions. And when you do that, when you do the work, people will start to look at you differently. They'll say you have a charmed life. They'll look at where you are and they'll get jealous of your breaks. But Seneca gave us the perfect formula for this so-called magic. Luck is what happens when preparation meets opportunity. There is no such thing as a lucky break. There is only the moment the door cracked open and you are actually ready to walk through it. If you hadn't been grinding in the dark, refining your skills, building your resilience, that opportunity would have just been another Tuesday. You would have missed it. You create your own fate by sharpening your tools every single day, even when no one is watching. You don't wait for the ship to come in. You swim out to it. The universe doesn't owe you a thing. You have to be ready to claim it. We spend our whole lives trying to control everything. The traffic, our boss, the stock market, the opinions of strangers. It's exhausting, isn't it? But in all that chaos, we miss the one thing that actually matters, the only territory worth conquering. And Seneca put it like this: most powerful is he who has himself in his own power. Real power isn't an army, and it's definitely not a corner office. It's sitting in traffic and not losing your mind. It's wanting to scream, but choosing silence because you know it's better. That's a fortress nobody can breach. When you master your own reactions, you become untouchable. The world can throw fire at you, but if you don't catch it, you don't burn. You stop being a puppet to your emotions and finally cut the strings. There's also this huge misconception that to be wise or to be a Stoic, you have to be poor, that you have to suffer and reject anything good life hands you. But that's not what the philosophy is about. And Seneca clarified this beautifully when he said, "For the wise man does not consider himself unworthy of any gifts from fortune's hands. He does not love wealth, but he would rather have it. He does not admit it into his heart, but into his home." Think about that distinction. Into his home, not his heart. You can drive the nice car, wear the nice watch, enjoy it. But the second you attach your self-worth to it, that's when you lose. You own the things, they don't own you. It's about being ready to walk away. If the market crashes tomorrow and the house is gone, the wise man is the same person he was yesterday. He enjoyed the warmth while it lasted, but he carried his own fire inside him all along. And then there is the matter of pain. We usually pray for an easy life, don't we? Smooth sailing, no storms. But the ancients believed that an easy life was a curse because it never tests what you're made of. Seneca actually argued that the gods look down on us, and the bravest sight in the world is to see a great man struggling against adversity. It's like a gladiator match. Nobody watches the guy who wins without lifting a finger. We watch the one who gets knocked down, bleeds, and gets back up. That's where the glory is. Your pain isn't a punishment, it's your arena. So when things go wrong, don't pity yourself. Don't ask, why me? Realize that you've been picked for the main event. You are being given the chance to show the world and yourself just how strong you actually are. Now, let's look at how we measure our lives. You see an old man and you assume he knows something. You assume those 80 years meant something. But looking at the calendar doesn't tell you a thing about the life inside the years. And Seneca gave us a harsh reality check on this. So you must not think a man has lived long because he has white hair and wrinkles. He has not lived long, just existed long. Just existing. Think about that. Like a rock that's been sitting in the same spot for a century. It's been there, sure, but it hasn't done anything. It hasn't felt or changed or grown. It just gathered moss. And speaking of things we chase, we tell ourselves that money is the cure. If we just hit that lottery number, the anxiety goes away, right? The peace arrives. But Seneca saw right through that illusion. For many men, the acquisition of wealth does not end their troubles, it only changes them. You trade the stress of paying rent for the stress of managing a portfolio. You stop worrying about hunger and start worrying about fake friends or lawsuits. The flavor of the anxiety changes, but the anxiety is still there. Because the trouble isn't in your bank account, it's in your head. If you don't know how to be happy with a little, you won't know how to be happy with a lot. You'll just be a rich person who is miserable in a much nicer house. You wake up and check the clock, and there's this sinking feeling that you're already behind. We spend our days rushing, panic in our chests, terrified that we're running out of moments. But Seneca cuts right through that panic with a hard truth. He says, "It is not that we have a short time to live, but that we waste a lot of it. Life is long enough, and a sufficiently generous amount has been given to us for the highest achievements if it were all well invested. But when it is wasted in heedless luxury and spent on no good activity, we are forced at last by death's final constraint to realize that it has passed away before we knew it was passing. So it is. We are not given a short life, but we make it so, and we are not ill-supplied, but wasteful of it." That hits deep, doesn't it? We treat time like it's cheap, like we have an infinite supply. We scroll through mindless feeds, we argue about things that don't matter, we procrastinate on our dreams, and then we have the audacity to complain that life is too short. It's not short. We're just leaking minutes like a bucket with a hole in the bottom. Think about how much of your yesterday was actually yours. Not your boss's, not the screen's, but yours. The tragedy isn't that death comes, it's that we arrive at the end and realize we never really started living. We aren't victims of a short existence. We are the perpetrators of a wasted one. And it's not just time we mismanage, it's our own emotional state. We've all felt that sudden heat rising in the chest, the red mist that blinds us when someone cuts us off or insults us. You lose control. You say things you can't take back. And for a moment, you aren't you. Seneca looked at this chaotic state and defined it perfectly when he said, "Anger is a short madness." Because that's exactly what it is, temporary insanity. You look in the mirror when you're truly enraged, and you don't recognize the person staring back. Logic is gone, reason has left the building, replaced by a wild beast that just wants to destroy, regardless of the cost to yourself. The worst part is that it's voluntary. We choose to hand over the keys to our sanity. We let a stranger's comment or a bad traffic light turn us into lunatics, even if just for a moment. But in that brief moment of madness, we can burn down bridges that took a lifetime to build. So, how do we stop the madness before it destroys us? Every instinct screams at you to react right now, to send that angry text, to scream back, to strike while the iron is hot. But that urgency is a trap, and Seneca offers a solution that sounds too simple to work, but it's the only thing that does. The greatest remedy for anger is delay. Not suppression, not forgiveness, just time. You don't have to decide not to be angry forever. Just wait until the fog lifts. Give your rational mind a fighting chance to catch up with your emotions. When you pause, you deprive the fire of its oxygen. Suddenly, you realize that the thing you were ready to go to war over doesn't actually matter. The delay doesn't just stop the outburst. It reveals the truth. You regain your power by simply refusing to react immediately. You win by waiting. But sometimes it's not anger that paralyzes us. It's fear. We lay awake at 3 a.m., building entire torture chambers in our heads, living through disasters that haven't even happened yet. We worry about the job interview, the diagnosis, the future, feeling the pain before the blow even lands. As Seneca wisely observed about our tendency to self-sabotage, we are more often frightened than hurt, and we suffer more in imagination than in reality. We are expert storytellers of our own doom. We conjure up scenarios of failure and embarrassment that feel so real our hearts race and our palms sweat. But they aren't real. We suffer the blow 1,000 times in our mind, but reality, if it hits at all, only hits once. Most of what you're worried about right now is a ghost. It's a phantom pain. You are hurting yourself to prepare for a pain that might never arrive. Reality is usually manageable. It's the monster in your head that's unbearable. And yet, even when reality does hit, when the hardship is real and the pain is tangible, we tend to view it all wrong. We ask, why me? We want an easy life, thinking that struggle is a sign that we're failing or that the universe hates us. But Seneca reframes the struggle completely with this powerful thought. Fire is the test of gold, adversity of strong men. You don't know who you are when things are easy. Anyone can hold the helm when the sea is calm. It is only when the storm breaks, when the heat rises, that you see what you're actually made of. The pain isn't a punishment, it's a revelation. You should almost pity those who have never struggled. They don't know their own strength because they've never been tested. So when the fire comes, don't run from it. Stand in it. Let it burn away the impurities and leave only the gold. That is how you become who you are meant to be. You scream at the sky when it rains on your picnic, don't you? We all do, exhausting ourselves trying to bend the universe to our will, breaking our backs against walls that were never meant to move. It's a painful way to live, constantly at war with reality, which is why Seneca offers us this hard, grounding truth. For good or for ill, life and nature are governed by laws that we can't change. The quicker we accept this, the more tranquil we can be. We waste so much energy wishing things were different. We resent aging, we resent the weather, we resent the fact that people we love leave us. But this resistance doesn't change the outcome. It only adds suffering to the pain. It's like thrashing in quicksand. The more you fight the laws of nature, the faster you sink. True tranquility comes from a kind of surrender. It's not about giving up, it's about alignment. When you stop demanding that the world follows your rules and start navigating the world as it actually is, the anxiety lifts. You realize you aren't the general of the universe, just a traveler passing through it. But then the anxiety shifts from what is happening to how long we have left. We count the gray hairs and the passing years, terrified that our time is running out before we've even started. In the midst of this panic about our mortality, Seneca stops us and says, "As is a tale, so is life. Not how long it is, but how good it is what matters." Stop looking at the clock. A long life spent in fear, boredom, or cruelty is just a long, terrible story that everyone is relieved to see end. A short life, burning bright with purpose, kindness, and courage, is a masterpiece. It isn't about the number of pages in your book. It's about the plot. You have to ask yourself if you are merely existing or actually living. You could live to be 100 and never really be alive, or you could die young, having truly tasted existence. Quality is the only metric that counts. Don't try to add days to your life. Try to add life to your days. Now, while we are focused on making life good, we often fall into a dangerous trap when things go right. We get comfortable, We get soft, and we assume the sun will shine forever, leaving us completely shattered when the storm inevitably hits. To warn us against this fragility, Seneca advises, "It is in times of security that the spirit should be preparing itself to deal with difficult times." We love to ignore the shadow when we are standing in the light, but the world is cyclical. Winter always follows summer. If you wait until the tragedy strikes to build your resilience, it's already too late. You don't learn to swim when the ship is already sinking. You learn in the calm waters. This isn't about being paranoid or pessimistic. It's about building an inner fortress that stands tall regardless of external circumstances. By voluntarily practicing discomfort or simply mentally rehearsing how you'd handle loss, you rob the future of its power to destroy you. You stay ready so you don't have to get ready. And speaking of things that destroy us, there is another subtle poison we rarely notice until it's sickening. We chase happiness through consumption, eating more, buying more, feeling more, until the very thing that was supposed to make us happy starts to rot us from the inside. Seeing this gluttony of the soul, Seneca observes, "Pleasures, when they go beyond a certain limit, are bid punishments." Think about the hangover after a night of excess, or the empty feeling after a shopping spree. The first bite of the cake is heaven, but the 10th bite makes you sick. We think freedom is the ability to satisfy every craving, but that's actually slavery. When you can't say no to your desires, you are their prisoner. This is the paradox of wanting. When you chase pleasure too far, it turns around and bites you. Real enjoyment requires boundaries. It requires the discipline to stop while it still tastes good, preserving the joy rather than drowning it in excess. So, if we limit our physical pleasures, where do we go? Where can we find something that doesn't have a limit, something that we can consume endlessly without it ever becoming a punishment? Seneca points us toward the only thing that actually grows the more you feed it. The more a mind takes in, the more it expands. Everything else in the physical world fills up: a cup, a room, a stomach. But the mind is different. It's not a vessel to be filled, it's a fire to be kindled. Learning doesn't crowd your brain, it stretches it. It creates new connections, new landscapes, and new possibilities. This is your escape route from a small life. When you feel trapped by your circumstances, you can always expand your understanding. You can contain multitudes. The body may be confined to a specific place and time, but a mind that is constantly taking in wisdom is infinite. We spend our whole lives terrified of the finish line, obsessed with adding just one more year, one more day, one more hour to our tally. We act as if the sheer volume of time is what makes a life worth living, completely missing the point that a long story isn't always a good story. It was looking at this very tragedy that made Seneca realize something vital. As it is with a play, so it is with life. What matters is not how long the acting lasts, but how good it is. You see, nobody applauds a boring 3-hour movie just because it was long. We applaud the performance, the emotion, the impact of the scenes. You could live to be 100, sleepwalking through a century of gray days, or you could burn brightly for half that time and actually leave a mark on the world. It's about the intensity of your character, not the duration of your existence. So stop worrying about when the curtain falls and start worrying about the lines you're speaking right now, because once the lights go out, the only thing that remains is the quality of the show you put on. We spend half our lives bleeding from wounds that have already closed, reliving pain that doesn't exist anymore. Or else we stand paralyzed, trembling at a storm that hasn't even hit the horizon, terrified of a tomorrow that might never come. It's a torture we invent for ourselves, a constant state of anxiety. But there is a way to stop the bleeding, a hard truth that Seneca drops on us when he says, 2 elements must therefore be rooted out once for all: the fear of future suffering and the recollection of past suffering, since the latter no longer concerns me, and the former concerns me not yet. It's like we're obsessed with the rearview mirror. We keep looking back, replaying the embarrassments, the failures, the heartbreaks, letting them steal the energy we need for today. But Seneca is telling us to cut that cord, to realize that the past is dead and buried. It has no power over you right now unless you voluntarily hand it the weapon. And then look at how we treat the future. We borrow trouble, don't we? We pay interest on debts we haven't even taken out yet, stressing over what-ifs that are pure fiction. If you strip away the ghost of yesterday and the phantom of tomorrow, what you're left with is just this moment. And in this moment, surprisingly, you are free. But there's another trap we fall into, even when we try to focus. We feel constantly pressed for time, frantic and breathless, like we're always running late for an appointment we didn't make. It's a suffocating feeling, this sense that life is slipping through our fingers like sand. And Seneca pinpointed exactly why we feel this frantic desperation. But life is very short and anxious for those who forget the past, neglect the present, and fear the future. When you ignore what you've learned and obsess over what hasn't happened yet, you are robbing yourself of the only thing you actually own, this exact moment. You create a life that feels incredibly short because you aren't actually there for any of it. You're mentally living in a yesterday that's dead or a tomorrow that's imaginary. It's a self-inflicted anxiety, a chaotic way to exist, where you are physically in one place, but your mind is fragmented across a dozen others. If you want life to feel long and full again, you have to stop time traveling with your worries and anchor yourself right here, where life is actually happening. And once you realize that, you need a way to keep yourself anchored. Most of us run from silence because we're terrified of what we might hear if we actually listen to our own conscience. We drown out our thoughts with noise and distractions, but there is a powerful, almost sacred ritual that Seneca practiced to break the cycle. I make use of this opportunity, daily pleading my case at my own court. When the light has been taken away and my wife has fallen silent, aware as she is of my habit, I examine my entire day, going through what I have done and said. I conceal nothing from myself. I pass nothing by. I have nothing to fear from my errors when I can say, "See that you do not do this anymore. For the moment, I excuse you." This is the ultimate act of bravery, to sit alone in the dark and put your own soul on trial, not to destroy yourself, but to understand yourself. It's about looking your flaws in the face without flinching, reviewing the tape of your day to see where you were weak, where you were cruel, and where you were kind. But notice the gentleness at the end. He doesn't beat himself up. He corrects and then forgives. This nightly review isn't about guilt, it's about growth. It's the only way to ensure that the person waking up tomorrow is a little bit better than the one who went to sleep tonight. You know that feeling where the heat rises in your chest so fast you can't even see straight, and suddenly you're ready to burn down everything you've built? Even in the ancient world, a man named Novatus felt this exact terror, this fear of his own temper, and he begged his friend Seneca for a way to stop the bleeding. And Seneca, looking deep into the nature of human ruin, gave him this answer. "It appears to me that you are right in feeling a special fear of this passion, which is above all others hideous and wild. Anger is a short madness, for it is equally devoid of self-control, deaf to reason and advice, awkward at perceiving what is true and just, and very like a falling rock which breaks itself to pieces upon the very thing which it crushes." A short madness. That is exactly what it is, isn't it? You blink, and for a few minutes, you aren't the person you promised yourself you'd be. You become something jagged, something deaf to the people who actually love you. It doesn't matter what the truth is in that moment, because the rage doesn't care about what is true or fair. It only cares about feeding itself. But look at that last image he left us with, the falling rock. We always think our anger is a weapon we throw at our enemies, something we use to hurt them. But Seneca knew the tragic reality. When you crash into someone with all that weight and hate, you shatter yourself first. You are the rock, breaking into little pieces on the very thing you were trying to destroy. You know that feeling where everything you touch seems to turn into a struggle? Like you're constantly forcing square pegs into round holes. It's this deep spiritual exhaustion that comes from trying to bend the entire world to your will, only to have it snap back in your face. The Stoic philosopher Seneca saw this struggle clearly, and he wrote about it in a letter to his friend Lucilius. He said, "If we follow nature, all is easy and unobstructed, but if we combat nature, our life differs not a whit from that of men who row against the current." See, we usually think nature just means trees and rivers, but he is talking about reality itself, the way things actually are. We spend half our lives screaming no at what's happening, getting angry because traffic is slow, or bitter because the past didn't go our way. It's the definition of insanity. You are fighting a war against the universe, and it's a war you are guaranteed to lose. You are just rowing and rowing, burning yourself out, staying in exactly the same place. But there is a different way to live. If you just drop the resistance, everything changes. It doesn't mean you give up or become passive. It means you stop wasting your energy on things you can't control. You turn the boat around. You align your will with reality, accepting the moment exactly as it is. And suddenly, the friction is gone. The heavy weight lifts off your chest. The current takes you, and for the first time in a long time, moving forward feels easy.